Dry lube or wet lube? It's generally considered that in dry conditions, dry lube is better.
But what about in an ever so slightly wetter environment with the mud and grime? Often a wetter lube is the preference here.
Well, let's compare. This is our condition-specific, lube-specific breakdown.
So first up, the dry lube. We apply it to a clean chain and make sure we wipe off the excess. On the channel we use Muc-Off, who make more than just lubricants, but at the same time they are by no means the only company to make drivetrain oils and cleaners. This is something we get asked about all the time and would often recommend using a dry lube in dry conditions. So it'll be interesting to see how the dry lube copes in all this filth. So let's see how the dry lube fares. Dry lube is great because it doesn't let dirt stick to it. When we're riding in loose and dry conditions, we can dig up a lot of dirt and debris, and our chains are right in the firing line.
Well, that was the dry lube, and it really hasn't collected much at all.
Oh. So that was only the one lap, but in conditions as wet as this, that was all it needed. Even just putting the last few pedal strokes in through there, the dry lube has already kind of come off the chain, it's kind of been washed away. What that means is the drivetrain is making some horrible crunching and grinding noises. Now that might seem not the end of the world, maybe you can put up with it, but it's going to prematurely wear your parts. So in conditions like this, maybe the dry lube isn't the thing to go for. So let's degrease this chain, put the wet lube on and see how that fares. Now we've given the chains a thorough degrease and we're going to see how the wet lube compares.
After noticing how well the dry lube coped in these dry conditions, it'll be interesting to see how the wet lube does in somewhere so brutally arid. The issue with running wet lube when it's really dry is it attracts so much dirt. For the mechanically sympathetic of you, you'll understand how pained I was to put it on this morning, knowing what I was going to face. Now you can see the state of this, it looks like a motorbike drivetrain, and that's only 2 runs. So over a day's riding, it's going to be an absolute mess.
Gotta say, I am missing Chili a little bit now, but it's amazing how much quieter the wet lube was. Now, I know they look very similar and they both look relatively clean with no particular signs that things have gone awry. And that's because we were bombing it through those puddles, hitting all sorts of very saturated terrain. And that was just spraying the dry lube off. It's also kind of washed the wet lube down a bit, but it's still lubricated on the important internal parts of the chain. And that means there's no crunching and it's very quiet, which is what you want. With your drivetrains, a quiet one is often a happy one, and that's something that's worth bearing in mind. If it's crunching and creaking, be that due to lack of lubricant or indeed lack of setup, it's gonna wear it prematurely, and that's something we want to avoid. Now, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And what are your home trails looking like more at the moment? Sunny, chilly, or a different kind of sunshine in the Forest of Dean? Thanks guys, and we'll see you next time.